Okay. Hello, everybody. Thank you for attending part 4 of our Women's Suffrage Centennial series. Sorry we got started a minute or two late. We were having a little technical difficulties. I think we figured it out. So once again, I am Catherine. I am the program specialist for Girl Scouts of the Sierra Nevada. Helping me today is Paula Katie. Going to be helping with the waiting room. Wendy is also going to be helping out with the chat log and things. And our speaker is Pam Verhagen. Our interviewee. I apologize.
I'm what?
Interviewee. But we're going to go over a few quick things before we can start interviewing her about her first voting experience. Okay, so let's see. So I am screen sharing, and I really hope this works how I want it to. Bear with me. Let's see. So first, we are going to start with the Girl Scout promise. So if you're able to stand up, please do. Or, ooh, please stand. Thank you. Put your hand up like this, and let's read with. Please read it with me. On my honor, I will try to serve God and my country, to help people at all times, and to live by the Girl Scout law. Pam, would you like to do the law? Or do you want me to do that one?
Muted myself. Okay.
It's up there if you could see it.
I see it. I
Okay.
will do my best to be honest and fair, friendly and helpful, considerate and caring, courageous and strong, and responsible for what I say and do. And to respect myself and others, respect authority, use resources wisely, make the world a better place, and be a sister to every Girl Scout.
Okay, thank you, Pam. Okay, so let me see. I hope this works. Oh, okay. We lost the internet safety pledge plate. Let me, if I stop share and reshare, I don't know how to get back. So I'm somewhat tech savvy here, somewhat not. So before I get to tell you about the march, I just wanted to talk a minute about use of the chat log. I know some of you love to type in things and type. But previously we have found there's been some improper use of the chat log. It's not appropriate. And we don't like to see that. So we're going to ask, and in this today, we're going to be interviewing Pam. So 3 of us are going to be looking at the chat log a lot. We want you to put your questions for Pam in the chat log, and we will ask them on your behalf. But if we find that you're kind of getting off topic and keep getting off topic a lot, we can prevent you from chatting at all. We really don't want to do that. Please don't make us go there. And also, just so you know, this is being recorded, and everything you say in the chat log is being recorded and followed by Zoom IT. So that's all I want to say for that. But we're moving on. Let's see. Sorry, I have my list. I want to make sure I don't forget anything before we start interviewing Pam. Okay. So I told you a little bit last time about our upcoming Women's Suffrage Centennial March. It's going to be on August 15th. We're going to do it starting at 10 o'clock Pacific time. Now, I know I sent out a document in the last reminder email to your parents and adults, and I kind of forgot to put in there how to register. So I apologize for that. So when I send out the next reminder email for part 5, I will put that document back in there and tell you how you can register. So I apologize for that. That was my bad. Before I go on, do we have any questions for me? Wendy, so far? Nope, okay. So I know a few of you at last time had asked for some pictures and examples of what a suffragette might wear in 1920, what they might look like, some of the signs and posters and banners. So I'll be honest, hopefully this will show up. I Googled it, women's suffrage 1920, and I picked some of the best pictures that I thought would be most representative. If I can get this to go forward. There we go. So as you see, so this, I actually think this is from England, but even it's still about the same time period and their clothes are very similar to ours. I like this one because you can kind of see the clothing styles, but you can also see different signs, different posters that they came up with. All right, let's see. Hopefully this works and I can get to the next one. Hello, not you. I'm talking to my computer. Oh, there we go. Okay. And I liked this one because it just gives you a slightly different idea of the clothing. Look at the lengths of the skirts, how they're like halfway, they're a little bit above the ankle. I see lots of collars. I don't know if you've noticed, but most of them seem to be wearing hats. And I think I have one more. So this one didn't blow up so well, but I still just wanted you to see the clothing and get an idea. I see a lot of high necks. I see some sashes. I see gloves, but the hats, I think the big thing are the hats. And once we start interviewing Pam, you're gonna notice that one of her backgrounds, the one she has right now, is actually just about time specific for what I'm talking about. Okay, so.
It's actually Girl Scouts marching in the suffragette movement.
Thank you.
Back during the time. Hence why I chose it. And to hide my messy office.
No. All right, hold on. One more advance, please. Okay, so sometimes my computer cooperates and sometimes it doesn't because there is one more screen. There we go. So we are going to interview, we have Pam Verhagen with us. We're going to interview her about her first voting experience. So Pam, did I miss anything under your name? Lifetime Girl Scout, Juliette Gordon Low Society, Green Hat Society. You're on our Gold Award Committee. You're on the Volunteer Recognition Task Force.
Well, and I received my Gold Award, which at the time was called the Curb Bar.
Really? Okay, so I am going to pull out of this so that we can all see Pam. Okay. Ooh, I see somebody's got a Girl Scout background, and give me one moment. So Pam, let's see, I'm gonna spotlight you.
Oh my gosh.
Do you want me to take you off and have everybody see everybody else? We can change that.
I didn't expect to be that big on the big screen, and I can't do side by side. Wait a minute. I could do gallery view. What is everybody else seeing?
Right now they're all seeing you, but I can change it.
No, that's fine because now I don't have to look at me that big.
Oh, okay.
I changed my desktop to gallery view. I don't mind if I'm full on the iPad.
Okay, okay. Okay, so you said you got your Gold Award. So I'm just gonna start with a few questions and then we're gonna let the girls take it away after that. And we're gonna ask everybody use the chat log to ask questions only because right now I see there's like 55 people on this and I'm afraid I'm gonna miss you if you try raising your hand.
Where is everybody? I only see one screen full.
You should, I know I'm on a computer so I can like scroll through them, but I can put everybody on gallery view if you'd like that.
Usually there's pages, but that's all right. I'm not gonna waste time with that issue.
Pam, you are in speaker mode, so it's you, ma'am.
Now I'm using two devices, so.
Right. Okay, so let me start with this. So Pam, I know you do a lot for Girl Scouts in Sierra Nevada, but tell me what other councils that you are involved with and where you've been before.
I'm also heavily involved with San Gorgonio Council, which is not my original council. Greater Long Beach Council is my original, which is now merged into Greater Los Angeles. But San Gorgonio, which is the Palm Springs, San Bernardino, Riverside area, bought the camp that I went to as a girl, called Skyland Ranch. So I'm involved because of the camp. But I help with singing events in Southern Nevada Council, LA Council, and a few others, Orange County.
Okay, so you really get around council and Girl Scouts. That's great.
Yeah, now I'm doing it virtually. I'm actually participating in a singing thing on Mondays and Thursdays that's covers 17 time zones.
Wow, that's a lot. Okay, so I'm going to ask the first leading question, and the girls are going to take it over, because this is what got me. When I called Pam originally to ask her to do this interview, this is what blew me away. This is how I said, like, Pam, how old were you when you first voted?
21.
21, but I thought you could vote at 18.
Not back in the 60s, you couldn't vote at 18. You could only start voting at 18 starting 1971. And I turned 18 in 1964.
Okay, so I know the reason for this, for the change in ages, but I bet we have girls on who don't. What was why did that change?
Well, there'd been a lot of discussion about making it as low as 16 and for sure 18. And then finally it went in after an amendment, the 26th Amendment, it became 18 starting in 1970. It was passed in 1971, but yeah, it was passed in 1971. So until 1971, you had to be 18 to vote. I mean, 21 to vote. And even if it had been 18, now this is another odd thing about it, I became 18 in 1964, but I could not vote in that election, which was a presidential election, even if the age was 18, because my birthday is in December, which is a month after the election. So, but it didn't matter because I was 21 in 67, before the presidential election in 68. So it was not an issue. And a lot of this stuff I haven't even thought about since it was so long ago until Catherine, I was surprised she had no idea that the voting age used to be 21.
No, I knew that, but it just blew my mind because it's always been 21 for me. And so when you told me—
You mean 18 for you?
For me, excuse me, 18, but when you told me 21, I was like, okay, that blows
You
my—
just couldn't believe you knew anybody that was that old.
Oh, very funny. I do have parents and friends. Okay, so so when you voted, where were you living at the time?
I was living in Santa Ana, California.
Okay, and to register, do you remember how you went about registering to vote?
I think I was going to, California has a junior college system, which I think is different than your, like, TMCC, because they don't give four-year degrees. They only give 2-year degrees, or maybe they do that in California too. I don't know, but I was going to a junior college. I'm sure they had people that came to register us on campus. I vaguely remember that is possibly it, because I was in student government and things, and I think that's probably how it happened.
Right. No, that makes sense. I think I registered to vote in college too, actually. I think they came to my college campus.
Yeah, I don't think that I went anywhere specifically to do it.
Okay. Did you take time to, like, do some research, watch or listen to debates before you voted, or just kind of like walk in and check, 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 check?
I was involved in I was involved in a political group on campus at the time. But the political parties were totally different then. And I don't want to make this a political thing. So I was kind of around and listening to certain kinds of debates. And I don't recall there being debates per se. But if there were things on television, my dad always had them on, and I had to listen to them whether I liked it or not.
So did you pretty much walk into the voting booth and like you pretty much had your thing set and you just knew who you're going to vote for?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, come on, girls. See if you can come up with questions. We're asking her about her first voting experience. You're also welcome to ask her about her Girl Scout experience. Pam has been in Girl Scouts for, I can't remember how long now. Pam,
66 years.
I can't, and to refresh my memory, is that like total membership years, volunteer?
66 total membership years, 55 volunteer years. I was supposed to get my 55-year pin this year.
Right, yeah. Yes, I remember at our volunteer recognition ceremony that did not unfortunately happen. So I see we have some people have some raised hands. If you could type something into the chat, we'll ask that way. Oh, what were the ballots like?
They were paper, and you just checked off squares. Kind of like taking, and with a pencil, a Scantron test, like you would fill in the bubble, and then it would go through a Scantron thing. This computer deal that was as big as a house. What you have in your phone now took rooms back then.
Right. Oh, yeah. Okay. I remember a version of that. Yes. Okay. All right. Lots of questions. Hold on. What that looks like. Were you ever afraid to vote?
No. No. Climate was totally different then. Who you voted for was pretty much sacred almost. Nobody expected you to say who you were voting for. And yeah, the climate was totally different.
And Wendy, feel free to jump on with some of these questions because you guys are coming up with good questions now, but I just want to make sure we don't skip over anything.
So one person's asking like how many times have you voted? But I think it would probably be easier to go the opposite way and say, was there ever any years when you weren't able to vote, or have you made sure that you were able to vote every year?
I voted every time that I can vote.
That's impressive. That's dedication for sure. I have a question as well. So nowadays you hear about sometimes young people do not always start voting until they get kind of older in life. And what was it? So you said that you were like involved in some political groups on campus, but what was it that really kind of
on campus they had the Young Democrats and the Young Republicans. And I don't know if there was one for the liberals, or whether there was another. There were other parties, because I looked it up in 1964. There were three parties three people running for president, but I wasn't sure. I mean, I recognize the name for the Democrat and the Republican, but I don't know what that other party person was, what the name of the party was.
All right. How about so someone's asking what were the voting places like? Like, what did you vote in, libraries, or do you remember where you were voting?
I voted, there was a park across the street from our house, and it had a little like cabin type thing, and you went, and that's where the polling places were. And there were these little tables with a curtain around it. You went in and voted. And my mother worked for the polling place, and so she checked me in. So but they could be in a lot of places. They could be in libraries. They could be in little buildings and parks. Any place there was room. Like here, I voted, when you go in person, it's a fire station, volunteer fire station, right down the.
Okay, so I have, there's a few questions. Let's see, hold on. How did you feel when you voted for the first time? Did you like the experience?
I liked the experience. It wasn't really something that it was not super built up that, wow, I get to vote. It was just something you did when you got old enough to do it.
I like that.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
And I don't know anybody that didn't vote.
Good. Let's see. Hold on. You guys are coming up with good questions now, so give us a moment. We're looking.
So someone's asking if you learned to vote. Did you before you voted? Did they like talk about it in school, or did you just kind of go in that first time and figure it out?
Okay. In high school and in college, political science was the class you had to take, and so it was covered in there. And maybe whenever it was election time, there was more of an emphasis about the voting process, but it was something that you learned growing up as part of your political science and history classes. So there wasn't, you learned that you didn't need to take special classes for it, so to speak.
So there's also a couple people who are asking questions about like voting for women and voting for men. I mean, can you kind of remember like the first time there was a woman on the ballot, or were there always women on the ballot since you've been voting? And
I only in recent memory. I don't remember up until maybe the last 10 years women being on the ballot, or if they were, there wasn't as big a deal about there's a woman on the ballot versus a man and you should vote for this person because it's a woman. It was more, you voted, you were urged to look at their qualifications. So that could be partially why I don't remember whether there was up until the, more recent elections.
someone's asking, does everyone vote?
I actually don't know. Unless I know, no, I guess I don't.
No, I know people. My brother-in-law just won't vote because he doesn't think it makes any difference. He doesn't vote. I'm the opposite.
Oh.
Pam, I vote every time I get a chance to.
And I don't know anybody in my circle of friends or acquaintances that doesn't vote, and if they don't, they haven't told me that. So
So
I guess if you don't vote, you keep it real quiet.
So what would you say to all the girls on the call today about when they turn 18 and whether or not they should vote?
Well, of course you should vote. That's the only way you get your voice heard, even though it's like a minute part of the whole cosmic spectrum of things. But several one votes can make a difference.
Someone's wondering if you can remember who the president was that you voted for the first time you voted.
I can remember who. The first time I voted, Richard Nixon was running against Hubert Humphrey and George Wallace. And one of those was from a party other than Democrat and Republican. I mean, Nixon was Republican, Hubert Humphrey was Democrat, but I have no idea what George Wallace was, except for very conservative, I think. So I remember who was running, and I choose not to say who I voted for.
That's fair.
It's okay. Yeah. Oh, let's just let these girls know that when you are old enough to vote, or if you already are, you don't have to tell anybody ever who you voted for. That's your right. If you want to tell them, you can, but you don't have to. Like, I choose to not tell people ever. I'll say I voted, but I'm just like, that's it. I'm not saying anything else.
I always like to tell my California friends that when they ask, I'll say, well, there's this nice little thing in Nevada, you can say none of the above. And that they're so shocked by that they don't go any further. Yep. Just the possibility that could happen, that's an option.
So Pam, have you ever worked in a polling place?
No.
Okay.
My jobs never allowed that to happen.
Got it.
But my mother worked.
Right.
Because all she had to do was walk across the street and they gave her a little pocket change.
Wow. Okay.
After she retired, she worked full time, but when we moved to Santa Ana, when I was in the 9th grade, she retired because I wasn't going to commute back and forth to Long Beach for work. And just a little side note, if you ever see where people put the phone plugs in for the operators that did that, that's what my mother did.
Oh.
She was a telephone operator that actually plugged in the long distance phone calls.
Wow. Yeah, that was before my time even. So
I have a personal unvoting related question for you.
Okay.
So you said that you were involved with another council because you were part of that camp. Can you tell us a little bit about the camp that you went to when you were a kid? Did you have tents? Did you stay in was there a whatever?
Okay, the name of the camp still is Skyland Ranch. And this next year it will be celebrating its 70th year. And the different units, there were platforms, there were shelters of different varieties. There were some that there was a tent unit, depending on your age level at how close you were to the main lodge and how primitive the unit was. Just before you did counselor and training, your last 2 years before graduating, you could be in a unit called Outpost where there was nothing except for a platform and a shower, and you built your own unit, including a Chippewa kitchen. And I actually have pictures of me in that Chippewa kitchen when I was in that unit as a girl. So there was only one unit called Pioneer that had tents like Wasu too.
that makes sense.
And the camp covered a lot bigger acreage, so the units were a lot farther apart. Way far apart.
So we can continue this interview. I know it's 4:30, so if any of you need to get off the call, you can definitely we will see you next time. Otherwise, we will definitely keep going if Pam has the time and you all still have questions. Yeah, we can keep going a few more minutes for sure, but like if you need to hop off, it's okay. Pam, did you ever get called out for voting?
What do you mean?
Called out means like, I don't know how to explain it. Like, you voted. Like,
No.
yeah, it sounds like you came from a very supportive family that supported women voting and participating in the political process. But did you ever know any girlfriends or anybody when you were younger who maybe didn't have that kind of support?
Actually, no. Not that I'm aware of. I grew up in a family that I'm an only child. My father was very much the man is in charge of everything. My mother never did drive. I didn't learn how to drive until a lot later, but he was very supportive, being an only child, and he didn't want to have any more children, of me getting an education so I never felt the pressure to, the last thing he wanted me to do was get married, have children. He wanted me to have a profession. Like so I never experienced any of that. I never experienced anything in high school being put down for, being on the honor society or anything like that.
Pam, this is
so
Paula.
For growing up in for growing up in the 60s, I was lucky that way.
Pam,
Sorry,
this
Paula.
Paula, no, you're fine, because I had a very similar experience, and the entire, atmosphere was different. You didn't tell people who you voted for. People didn't ask you. It was very secret, and paper ballots, and you were expected to vote. It wasn't a bad thing to vote. It wasn't you got poked at. You were expected to vote. So it was a good thing. So I just wanted to throw my 2 cents in there.
Oh, and I want to point out, I changed my background screen to a background that was actually taken when Lady Baden-Powell or Juliette Low, they look all the same to me in pictures, came to visit the Girl Scouts of Sierra Nevada, or whatever it was called back in the 30s.
I like that. We've got a question. When you first voted, did they have the I voted stickers?
No.
No, but they did put a red X, at least when I voted, on the back of your hand that was indelible. And so you couldn't re-vote.
Wow. Oh, can you talk a little bit more about re-voting? Because I don't know if girls realize that somehow people try to vote once.
Wait a minute, Paul. I've only ever heard of that in places like Turkey and England and Italy. I never got an indelible thing on my hand.
Yeah. And it, it was one of those indelible that wouldn't wash off for a while. Yeah.
Where did you grow up, Paula, that you had the red X on your hand?
Yeah.
I was in Oklahoma at the time.
Yeah, I'm from Chicago. Vote early, vote often. Something that I agree. I mean, it wasn't that way by the time I got there, but it was ingrained. That came from us.
Okay. See, that's.
I mean, it's the as part of history.
I led a sheltered life.
Okay, so do those who are still on have any more questions for Pam? Oh, is voting stressful?
No. I mean, before absentee ballots, it was stressful because you had to be available on that particular day to go vote, especially for the primary. Things like primaries, because those were in June. November wasn't so bad, but the June thing, that was like, I want to be at camp. I don't want to be voting.
Well, let's see. Do you think everyone should vote if they're old enough? Okay.
Yes.
And Pam, I don't mean to sound like you're super old or anything, but
I am.
I'm just kind of curious. So, you voted the first time 40 years after, voting was available for women. Did you know any elderly women at the time who didn't have the right to vote when they were younger?
Well, I would know my grandparents. I mean, I know, let's see. Well, my mother was born in 1917. My dad was born in 1910. So you can only imagine, we kind of have children late in life. I mean, my family did. So my grandparents, they were born in like 1887, but if they couldn't vote, I wasn't aware of it.
You know, it's interesting. I kind of wonder a little bit that because your grandmother probably was around when women got the right to vote, that
Oh yeah.
yeah, that she probably taught her daughter from day one, you will vote. And then she also your mother taught you from day one, you will vote. It was just something you did. It wasn't something like, oh, should I vote? Should I not vote? It's like, no, that's what you do in this family.
Okay, all my grandparents and my father and mother were all born in a foreign country. They were born in Belgium. And my dad was born in 1910 and came here when he was 9. So all my other ancestors, except for my grandparents, I never met my mother's father. He died when she was 17. So the 3 that I did know, they, I guess they voted, but I don't know. I was too young to remember. My mother's mother died when I was in the 7th grade, and my father's mother died a lot later, but she was an invalid most of her life. I don't ever remember her not being in bed. So she wouldn't have voted for physical reasons. So I didn't have, I'm sorry, any exposure to older women that fought that battle because they pretty much didn't live here.
Right, right. So someone's asking a question. I read a book about voting, and it says that in some places, the children can do a practice vote to prepare them for voting when they're older. Is that still around, or was it never a thing like here in the United States? I don't know, Paula or anybody, does anybody know the answer to that question?
Never heard about it.
I'm not practice voting in what respect?
Yeah, I don't know. She just says that she read a book and that in some places, children can do a practice vote.
Well, maybe they do a mock vote like in school.
Yeah, that sounds like probably something like that.
I mean, we did that in political science classes. We would just, you know, do a vote to see, to do it. And I think they do it in schools now, don't they?
I don't know. I would say probably the closest is when you get in high school and there's offices, right? So there's like the class president and those kinds of offices that children can vote, that high school kids can vote for.
Well, I've heard of people like around presidential elections just doing as like part of their studying political science and that kind of thing, doing some votes in their classes.
Yeah,
but I'm just hearing it on the news and stuff. I mean, I'm not in education.
Yeah, Madeline says her school did it.
Yeah, and we did it too.
And Emily and Vanna, they also did it. So it sounds like it is a thing. People do that, which sounds like a great idea to get people, you know, doing it young.
Enthusiastic about the process.
Yeah.
So I've had one question pop up a few times. So I'm going to make this our last question, and then we're going to kind of say goodbye to everybody. Was it a shock the first time you saw a woman on the ballot?
No.
Okay. No, and then it's, like I said, we had one person ask that a few times around, so we tried to get to that. Well,
no, I mean, eventually, okay. I'm a firm believer is you vote for somebody based on their qualifications.
Thank you. I agree.
So, you know, so you need to get educated on their qualifications, and I don't care if they're a man, a woman, you know, if there was, because I don't want to be flippant, but I mean, if there was a different gender, which that's a whole other thing. It doesn't matter whether you're male or female, you need to be able to do the job.
All right, and I think that's a really good way to wrap up this session. So everybody, let's thank Pam, or you can give her a hand clap, put something in the chat log. Thank you so much, Pam, for agreeing
Thank you.
us with all your Girl Scout regalia and telling us about voting and stuff.
I want to tell you this. I have not needed to wear this uniform because of all this social distancing since February when we did that thing. The thing at the convention center, the Women's March.
Oh, right, yes.
Right, okay. Now I have worn it twice this week for a Zoom thing because we had a sing where it was all Girl Scout and Girl Guide songs, and they wanted us all to wear our uniforms so we could see what the different uniforms look like in Canada and here. So I'm thinking, well, the chances this would happen in the same week.
Okay, well, thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Thank you, Pam.
Thank you.
We appreciate that. I'm glad we gave you an excuse to put on all of your Girl Scout regalia. Is that how you say it? Bye, Christy. All right. Goodbye. everybody.
Pam, it was super good to see you.
Good
Yeah.
to see you.
Yay. And I will make sure to send you a Zoom link for the March. And for everybody else, I will send it in the next email. A reminder. All right. Thanks, everybody. I'm going to end this meeting. Have a good,
Okie doke.
I'm going to have a good rest of the day.
Okie dokie. Bye.